First of all, explain to me, you call yourself not neutral, center right. What is this kind of journalism? Can you please explain to us what is not neutral and center right journalism?
The thing is, journalism has never been neutral, and there is a reason behind it. If you
In Sarvani, we've always been talking about misinformation and spreading of fake news. And today we have a very interesting journalist with us. He calls himself a secret journalist, a lone wolf who is doing his kind of journalism and try to be as anonymous as he can. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining in. We are really grateful to have you on our platform.
welcome,
Can you please explain to us why you choose to be completely anonymous as a journalist?
right? So there is a journalist that exists between all of us. We all want to know the truth and tell it to the world. When I started this venture, prior to this, I would debunk fake news and clear the misinformation that is online on my Facebook page. And hardly there would be 10, 15, 20 people who know the truth. I realized over and over again that there is a need for me to tell it to the world and not just 20 or 30 of my Facebook friends. And that was how the idea of the secret journalist was born. I chose to remain anonymous because I personally feel that more than my identity, the work that I do is relevant. You may not know who I am, where do I live, what is my religion, what is my caste, creed, color, but you will know what my views are and how this will help you to understand and analyze a given piece of news.
But sir, when we talk about misinformation, there's always a
Right.
talk about that it comes from an unreliable source and the source is not mentioned. You being completely anonymous and not coming up with your identity, does it affect accountability of your work?
One of the reasons, one of the things that I do on my page is that when a news or a piece of news goes viral,
Hmm.
I ensure not to report about it immediately.
Okay.
By doing that, by not jumping the trending bandwagon and waiting for more facts to emerge, I ensure that the piece of news that I deliver to my readers is authentic and correct. What happens in order in this 24-hour news cycle, in an attempt to go on the trending list or be the first one to tell people about this news, we often fail to verify things. That is the reason whenever a news emerges, I wait for about a week to figure out whether there are any discrepancies in the story, whether there are facts that we may not know. That way, I ensure that the information I'm giving to my readers is 100% authentic. And this is the trust that I have been building with them for over a year now.
Okay, sir. Sir, I want to know about more about your work. You call yourself not neutral, but center right. So can you please explain to us that what is center right journalism and why you call yourself not neutral?
Journalism has never been neutral. And the fact is that most journalists and media houses are not neutral in India and worldwide. You go to, for example, the United States, you have CNN, which is a left-leaning news website. You have Fox News, which is a right-leaning news website. But neither of them identifies with that tag. They claim to be neutral, but to a reader, to an onlooker, to a viewer, they know what's the truth. So for a change in my this thing in my channel, I decided to make my leaning public. What I mean by bias is that at the end of the day, all of us go and vote for a particular party. We make informed choice. We vote for the party we like. And when you don the shoe of a journalist, we often don't leave our bias behind. Bias is a problem in journalism. It is not a problem. Question is whether as a journalist we are objective with the facts.
Okay.
Right? So how does a bias play in? For instance, government gives a corporate tax cut to the big businesses. As a writing journalist, I'll prefer anything which is about open markets, competition, and gives the customers at the end the benefit to reap from the markets on the basis of supply and demand. To a left-leaning journalist, this will be called as something like crony capitalism, or they will look at it as giving benefits to corporates and not helping the real people. So this is how the bias plays in. This bias doesn't change the fact that the government gave a tax cut. The question is your analysis varies with your bias. And bias is not necessarily a problem. Question is if I change the figures of the corporate tax cut from say 25% that it was to say 50%, and then make a exaggerated claim that this is how the government is helping the corporates and make a narrative out of it, that's when it is a problem.
So that's very interesting that you are open with acknowledging your biases, because
Yeah, true.
these days we have so many media platforms which fail to do so. Either they are right wing or left wing or center, they don't want to be acknowledged, and they feel that they are the only flag bearers of freedom and true information, which is, you give a very interesting aspect of having bias, but the analysis needs to be uh, objective, and you rely on facts. So now, as a generation which is emerging out of learning out of social media, and all our information is being gathered from our social media sites, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, can you please explain to us how can we get our facts right? What is the way to go? Where should we get our news from?
Right. This is a very important question, and I like to share the strategy that I use. First, don't share anything that you get on Facebook. A video, especially the ones with the communal angle. See, fake news in itself is not a problem. I'll just give you one example.
Okay.
Remember, every time during Diwali, we get this fake photo of NASA picture watching India lighting up. This is the fake news, but this is not a problematic fake news. Here, consider a video of a man beating another man with a contentious caption like Muslim man beaten for being a Muslim. Now, sharing this video without knowledge is not same as sharing the photo of NASA's alleged Diwali picture, right? So, so the news items that have a contentious angle to it should be fact checked before sharing it to the world, as this holds the capacity to provoke a section of people and cause communal tension. So, how do you go about doing this? So, we have fact checking websites who have already taken up the task of doing this, but even they have their own biases. And I'll tell you how this works out. So, for example, a left leaning fact checking website will fact check news items that are critical of Muslims. So, like for example, a news item where it is being falsely claimed that a Muslim man has beaten up a Hindu man, they will fact check that, but they won't fact check the one, for instance, where a Hindu man is falsely attributed to have beaten up a Muslim man. In that case, we also have right-wing channels who are doing that. In this whole process of left-wing and right-wing news channels coming together in their own perspective to fact check news, now people have started finding out which are the channels that actually spread fake news on the social media platform. So the first thing is identifying the pages that repeatedly share fake news, and to ensure that you don't share anything from that page. Second thing, wait for these fact checkers to come up with a fact check on this. Don't share before you know the truth. Third, wait for mainstream media channels to report it. So mainstream media channels, even though people have less reliability on them now, they actually spend time in finding the truth of a story. At times even they go wrong with their fact checking and verification. But a news item that is on a mainstream media channel is more likely to be authentic than what it is on Facebook or Twitter.
Sir, you talked about cherry picking of news, and definitely there's bias attached to it. So, are we talking about we're taking sides, being right and left? In this battle between the right and left, the truth is being beaten up. What do you have to say about that?
Uh, Regarding the truth is different. Truth is the truth is different from everyone. For instance, I'll just give you one example of a recent event. There was a pregnant woman, uh, and the headline of most news channels read, Muslim woman denied treatment in Jaipur because of her religion. This
Yes.
was a news item carried by many mainstream media channels. On the very same day, and this allegation was made by the woman's husband that they are Muslims and they have been denied treatment. So when I personally read it, I really felt bad. And it is outrageous that a doctor who is supposed to be a lifesaver actually segregates people on the basis of religion.
Hmm.
But on the very same day, a journalist, an independent journalist, actually put out medical receipts of that woman. The woman was pregnant for the seventh time. She had high risk of anemia, and so the doctor had initially diagnosed the problem and had referred her to Jaipur. Now the problem was this information was already in the public domain. The news channels that earlier reported that the Muslim woman was denied treatment because of her religion did not update the story. As such, what happens? You read a piece of information, you don't get a follow up on the story. You believe the first information to be true and don't get to know the other. So this is how, by not updating or following up on the story, either deliberately or unintentionally, people don't get to know the truth. You know only half of the story. And what happens is that after 4 years from now, in 2024, the same news story will be told in a different manner for political gain. See how Muslims are feeling unsafe in India. Even though this was already followed up, even though this piece of information already had the truth was not updated by the mainstream media channels. 4 years later, this will be put in a communal angle for politics.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. I think that was a true example. And I have also read about that news, and definitely it was run on lines of communal angle. So, as a journalist, tell me, can you please tell us something about yourself? Are you working as a professional in some other industry, or you're just doing journalism?
Yeah, I am a journalist. I am a journalist in real life.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I felt to do this far different from what I already do in my newsroom.
Okay.
The reason is most news media channels have restrictions on the kind of narrative you can talk about. The editorial board, the editor who is in charge of you decides what should be the news channel stand on a particular topic. At times, I personally don't agree to that stand. At times, I personally don't agree to that stand. So I felt there is always, even though it is a democratic newsroom, there is still restrictions on what I can say and what I cannot. So I had started this new venture with that purpose to tell my opinion and my perspective of a problem.
So I think because you've been working with the news agency or news house where you're aware of the biases that
True.
so that's the reason which motivated you to do your free journalistic,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
that.
actually, that's the case with every industry. For example, if you are a graphic designer, you want to put on your own vision into a design. The one who is on top of you, in the sense that he has a higher authority power than you, will have their own suggestions and own directions, and you cannot yourself implement what you would have thought you could. So your creative freedom is somewhat restricted in any organization where you work, and that is true even in case of news organizations. We are not free to go against our news channel stand. So we personally cannot do that. The only way I could have done this and shared my thoughts was through this.
Don't you feel so that we need to break this structure that is created in every organization? Don't you think that we need to break it in at least journalism? Journalist needs to be free.
The fact is that in India, journalism was never free. This is a kind of myth we have been holding for a long time. So people had already taken stance even before 2014. For see, before 2014, my personal experience is that only old people used to watch news. I remember anyone if there would be a news item other than sports, no one would actually watch it. But now after 2014, I see more and more youngsters interested in news and trying to know the truth. The fact is, as back as in 1975, during the emergency, one of the leading journalists and authors, Khushwant Singh, who used to be known as the establishment liberal, actually supported the emergency. And why he supported is because he was sympathetic to the Indira Gandhi government. So even back then, as back as 1975, people whom we hail today as heroes of journalism of that era were not actually their without their own biases. We suppose that biases began in 2014, but that was never the case. This hierarchy in organizations existed because the people who are in the top of the hierarchy don't want to give their privilege of being at the top.
So, as a journalist, journalists have a lot of responsibility to take care of. As journalists, you're mostly gatekeepers of information, and which is very important in today's world. So, what as a journalist is what is something that troubles you the most? What is one thing that you feel needs to be corrected in the society, and you want people to talk about it and bring some kind of change? What is that one thing that troubles you the most?
So I'll tell you this interesting story. When I started this page on Instagram, there are two extreme kinds of rhetorics on Instagram. One that deals with Hindu phobia and one that deals with Islamophobia. So you have to either be Hindu phobic to subscribe to one set of mindset, or you have to be Islamophobic to subscribe to that sort of channels. I felt that some of the discourse needed to be corrected, and that's why I proposed this center right idea where we don't endorse extreme views, endorse extreme views, and at the same time to be politically incorrect at times to be able to tell the truth. What has happened in this era? What has happened now? For example, I'll just give you an example. Last year, I remember in New Zealand, a white supremacist gunned down 44 Muslims who were praying in a mosque. And that story was shared all over the world, and everyone condemned this sad incident of terror. Recently, in a Gurdwara in Afghanistan, a terrorist bombed the place,
Yes.
and around 25 Sikhs lost their life. You will see the difference in the coverage of both the incidents. In both the cases, lives were lost. Both were acts of terrorism, right? But here it appears as if the life of one group of people was more significant than the life of the other. That both the news stories did not get universal coverage. While one news item was covered all across the globe, the other news item was just limited to some news channels of India. So it is important for us to be able to tell the truth and all of the truth with the same intensity. We cannot make hullabaloo on one incident and stay silent on the other.
So that's definitely so. Your concern is that we need to cater to every kind of news in the same way.
Exactly. Yes. We cannot be lambasting on one kind of people and then growing silent on the other. If we are against any act of crime against anyone in the society, the voice that we have to lend to both of their victims has to be of the equal intensity. We cannot be like supporting one and then staying silent when the other person goes through some kind of atrocities.
Definitely, I think that's very well said, sir. but we are, as you said, all of us are biased. All of us are taking sides every time. With every decision we make, we are biased. So this is the reason that this kind of difference in reaction comes up. Definitely, so I think if we let go of our biases, definitely we can do something about it. What do you think, that is it possible for people to let go of their biases?
I don't think so. As I told you earlier, I don't think so. Anyone can let go of their biases because in the end, they vote for some party. They vote. They make informed choices. The question is, keeping your bias wherever it is, can we be truthful to the news? Can we report facts the way it is? Can we be objective in our analysis? We might have we might have inclinations towards a political party, but when members of the political party indulge in heinous activities, are we willing to criticize and condemn them with the same intensity we would have if that person belonged to some other party? That is the question the journalists are faced with today. Or are we going to make up conspiracy theories in order to shield those people just because they belong to a party which I have inclinations for?
Definitely, sir. So, in the last, I would like to ask you a question. I was reading one of your stories. It was about rape in India, and you talked about victim blaming, and you talked about irrational behavior. So, what do you have to say about the irrational treatment of women across India, and the kind of reporting done around these cases, which is also done in, which also you see cherry picking in most of the cases. Some cases are highlighted and some are not. What do you have to say about that?
I believe that crimes against women actually start from home. For instance, a boy who grows up in a household where he sees that his father comes back and beats up his mother, he tends to believe that such a behavior is normal. Our friend circle, if you have anyone in our friend circle who indulges in say if teasing, it is our responsibility to condemn that act and also distance ourselves from such people.
Hmm.
Victim shaming begins from home. When you question the victim instead of the perpetrator, we have seen that happen across multiple cases. The recent one, the one which I had sharing of a politician in 2013 saying that लड़कियों से गलती हो जाती है.
Yes, sir.
Instead of taking up making them accountable for their actions, you are like hiding with them as if they have made a mistake and this is something you can let go of. So, victim blaming is a part of this dangerous mindset that actually allows rape. Rape is not an act of sexual violation, it is an act of overpowering someone who you believe is weaker than you. This is a part of a patriarchal attitude that has been stemming up in the society for long. So as to absolve the perpetrator of his crimes, you pass on the blame to the victim. This has been the underlying strategy of these apologists of rape and those who try to whitewash the perpetrators and not side with the victims.
Definitely do believe myself that it starts from the beginning. I think it's a chain that needs to be broken. At some point, we need to realize that even as women, we are taking a part when we are teaching our sons, or we are, mistreating our even our daughter-in-laws, or
True, exactly.
any kind of irrational behavior towards women by women also starts this kind of it's also like, I think, a point in the chain that needs to be broken. Definitely, sir, wonderful. So one thing more I want to know is that what future you see ahead of yourself, what this kind of right-centered journalism that you've been doing, and the venture of the cigarette journalist, how far you see yourself going, and what is your plans for the coming year ahead?
As I told you that right now I work as a journalist in a different organization and do it part time whenever I get time to analyze and tell the real story to my readers. My hope for the future is that I can tell and tell and spread these stories that I do to more and more people, so that there is a point in time where I don't have to work for that organization and I can do this full time. We can hire people, we can employ others, and make this as a full-fledged news organization that will be willing to wait to just to report the truth.
That's fantastic idea, sir. We wish you all the best, and we hope that this venture of yours, which the Secret Journalist, continues and it reach great heights. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. We're really, really grateful to have you. Thank you.